honestly, I was missing your interviews. So in general, with all the space. So.
Oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I think it kind of felt like it was time to go back to this level of conversation. I almost feel like, not that the mining conversations for me were a distraction. I don't think that they are. Proof of work is still necessary for a lot of projects. So I get that there's definitely a need for that. And but the hobbyist miner that has 2 GPUs mining, he's not earning any money at all on any project.
Yeah.
So, and even 2 rigs, sometimes even 2 rooms full of mining rigs. It's not enough. Something that I think everybody's curious about when it comes to a new coin project is, what is the current supply and what is the total proposed supply when the last block reward is given?
So the max supply is 1 billion. So, and we are right now, I think, around 230 million or stuff like that. So we are in the range of 25% of the mined total supply. After the 1 billion mined tubes, it will continue with 0.3% when I'm not wrong. So it's just a couple of tubes each day. And it will continue endless with that.
Got it. And that is, okay. And it sounds like then that continual coin emission is intended to help achieve consensus then.
Exactly. Yes. Great. That the miners are still mining the net on the network. Based on Monero, actually, and the emission is a little bit different because we are on the level 22. I think Monero is on 20. So sure, especially the first 5 years, our tube has a crazy emission, but that's usual for, I suppose, for any proof of work coin in the beginning. So after 2023, everything slows down heavily. And so 2023, 50% of the supply will be mined already. And then we have still 35 years for the next 50%. So let's see.
Got it. And it sounds like, is any of that using projections for the introduction of quantum computing devices that may be contributing to consensus, or is it just a happy accident?
It's an happy accident.
Okay.
Right now there is nothing there in mind, but sure, that's something which will happen in the next years.
Okay, got it. Yeah, it seems like with new announcements of smaller lithography and ever smaller die sizes, we're always being taken off guard. So
correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
So with the current transactions per second, or just the throughput of Tube today, what is it like today? And in the future, do you see there ever being a need for a second layer solution for transactions, and then using the current chain only as a settlement layer?
Right now, we are proving different kind of algorithms, and one of them, which is right now on our radar, is Kukaro. That's an interesting algorithm for us. We are doing already some implementations on our testnet and testing it out because the block time, etc., is very interesting for us, especially because one of the main reasons of Tube are donations inside of our network. Then we have all the small transactions for the airtime and everything, and we're checking right now that algorithm before we're going further with proof of stake or whatever in our custom solution for it. But that's something on our radar which we are testing, and hopefully the testnet is also publicly available during February or March. Let's see. I don't want to promise. Maybe there are some surprises for us. We don't know. But we are trying to reduce the block time down to 50 seconds, and this could be an interesting case for us.
Wow.
Should be a big improvement for the overall network. Let's see.
Wow. Okay. And I apologize for introducing any other project's name into this interview, but it sounds like with Kukaro, the only other project that's a crypto node that I'm aware of that is using it, I think, is Swap. Is that?
Yes. Also partially Green is using it. Green is also a good example, which is using it right now.
Sure. But I don't believe that they're a crypto node. I think they're a direct fork of Bitcoin.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. So we are bringing this to the crypto node protocol, or we are trying to bring it over. Okay,
phenomenal. And the current block time, you said you're evaluating a possible move to 50 seconds. What is it currently?
Currently, it's 120 seconds and then multiplied to 10 confirmations. So we are trying to break this down.
Got it. Okay. And as far as the likelihood of there being any kind of a double spend attack or 51% that can be successfully executed, has the current 120-second block time been helpful in deterring any kinds of attacks, or? or has there been a concern there?
There's always a concern there because with the low hash rate right now, I think on almost any kind of project, it's always I have always a bad feeling that you never know that a GPU farm or whatever is coming up with some mega hashes, and then there is always a risk there.
Sure.
For our luck on the other side, I mean, even with an attack, there are solutions because especially we are in touch directly with the exchanges and everything, but nobody wants to have such a scenario.
I've spoken to a couple of projects, most recently the Loki project. So Simon out in Australia, and apparently because they have a masternode network attached to their blockchain, they have some additional parameters to deal with that to achieve consensus. And I think you and I have spoken at sometimes privately about some possibilities and what the future could hold for Tube. You know, I have a little bit of a background in image processing. I'm always interested in hearing the possibility of there being a service node network for a coin and project like yours for the value added services that the Tube community provides. But I don't know. I won't squeeze you for any kind of a commitment there in within an interview. That'd be inappropriate. But okay. But I wonder what kind of other options there are for the Tube network in the future.
I think it's difficult. I mean, there is a lot of research, and I think for us it should be crystal clear. Also for the people out there, it's an experimental network, so we are seeing and we are heading away with we are going with the future to see what it's useful for us, and when we and also the community sees that there is some interesting good things out there that we can implement it, we are definitely the last one which would deny that. So
sure.
I can't give you any kind of clear answer right now, so it's research.
Sure. Well, and I definitely appreciate that there's been a very methodical approach with the Tube team. You haven't made too many hasty decisions, it seems, and that appears to be working out well for you so far. So,
yeah, I think not everybody, I mean, I'm sorry, but we cannot make everyone happy, but we are trying to do the best for long-term wise for the Tube network, for the whole Tube project. And we are trying to give our best to implement all of that to fulfill what we are trying to build, and this is a full ecosystem for BitTube.
Sure. Well, let's get more into that in just a minute here. With the initial problem that you saw, Saber, because this is your baby, this is your project from day one. You're the founder, and I believe also the lead dev. The first code commit was yours.
Yes.
It's rare that we get to talk to a founder where that's the case. And so, when you first started this project, what was the initial pain that you thought, I can't bear this anymore, I have to fix it?
The point was basically it was censorship, especially starting with YouTube. So I was seeing what will happen in the upcoming years, and this was in middle 2017, and step by step all this happened, what I was expecting. And but at some point in 2018, or by the middle or end of 2018, I see that the problem in general is not only YouTube by himself, and for that reason we changed our mind about the solution, because it was not only censorship of videos. The problem is much more bigger than that. The problem is with payment processors, who has the power of the payments and all the things, and the problem is not only at YouTube, because it goes all over the social media. Many people doesn't recognize that right now, but the things which are going on right now on YouTube, it's just the tip of the whole iceberg. And I promise you, in the next 3 to 5 years, we will see much more worse things. And some community members also they talk with me, and they tell me that we are missing a chance here, and we need to hurry up with marketing and stuff like that. And I honestly disagree with them, because it's just the beginning of what will happen in the next 3 to 5 years.
I can appreciate that. I imagine that certain socio-political indicators, like for example, if Donald Trump is reelected as president, I'm sure we'll see some people lose their minds.
Exactly. It's just one of many cases, and all over the globe, crazy things are going on, and this will affect heavily social media. And for that reason, we changed our opinion, and we say, okay, just giving an alternative platform to YouTube, it's not it's not all. It doesn't solve the major problem of all the problems we see now or we will face in the future. So the first thing, it's a payment issue. So you need to have privacy on the payments. The payments on such social media needs to be anonymized. It's not only the censorship himself, and you need to solve the devil of the whole problem. And in my mind, even when some will not agree with me, the advertisement business by himself is driving many decisions why all this is happening right now over YouTube, Facebook, social media in general. And we need to solve this monetization problem without to be based on advertisement.
Let's talk about some of the ways in which you've chosen to tackle that problem. Case in point, right here I have bittubers.com, and I'm using the BitTube browser to look at bittubers.com.
The browser by himself, it's a major key for us. Right now, it's just a regular browser. Let's say it's a fork of Firefox, and we specially decide to fork Firefox because in our tests, everything, and for our future, Firefox is developed very well, and it has some nice benefits, especially for our developers. And the future of our browser is that BitTorrent, the BitTorrent protocol, will be implemented directly here. So our idea is to inject in any page a torrent layer so that you can like or upload videos and or images, posts, whatever, and all of them gets reseeded directly from the browser. So there is no need anymore for a third-party application to seed the things which you would like to support. Let's imagine that a user is you're uploading your video on BitTubers as an example, and I as a viewer, I'm looking at your video, I give it an upvote, I give it a like or a donation, doesn't matter. And the browser from us directly detects that and basically downloads the video, and it's receipts it just to support you and your content, that it can't be taken down or whatever.
So it sounds like then the browser works with bittubers.com. You chose to fork Firefox because you felt like it was the best host for that kind of web torrent or BitTorrent integration?
Exactly. And this has the benefits. I mean, right now, like, bittubers.com, for example, could be the domain by himself, could be censored, let's say from Russia or from Iran or from China, doesn't matter. And when you get the BitTubers browser, I hope this year, then you can still get access, because it will be the BitTubers version of that platform will be domain independent. So this means it's integrated directly inside of the browser and with the BitTorrent protocol. And this means the great Chinese firewall or the Russian government can't stop anything in here anymore.
Great. Okay, so this is meant to give a voice to the voiceless, those who are censored around the world.
Exactly.
Okay, phenomenal. I mean, ideologically, I can get behind that. I think most people should, in terms of the intent of what you're doing there. I think more people should be focused on this problem because, as you mentioned, there are territories throughout the world that we see there are real problems already today. Civil unrest, even violence.
Yeah, all over the place. And I believe also that the next years this will be much more worse. So I expect also, I tell you honestly, I expect also heavy censorship directly on domains from Germany, from Austria. And this is a way to bypass all that without a VPN service.
That's so sad to hear also. Germany, and apparently in terms of personal privacy, there are some very strict laws on the books, apparently, that are supposed to protect personal privacy. That's very sad to hear that there may be, that you sense that there may be a push on the part of the German and Austrian governments to perhaps censor content coming into people's personal space.
I mean, Bitcoin has had a good case. Let's say Bitcoin is the new gold, but the BitTube is the gold of data, let's say, and data, it's much more worth than gold. And and I think this will be finally the next years. This will be much more clear for many other users. The data is more worth than everything else.
Yeah. Great. So it sounds like then this is where you want to be positioned in terms of not just data, but communication. So
Exactly.
meaningful data as shaped by. I mean, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and
Exactly.
video is 30 pictures a second. So or 25.
Yeah.
Just depends on where you are.
I think any human in this world should have a option to express himself. I mean, like you have seen also on VTubers, we are not fans of copyright infringement or stuff. So this is something which we don't like. So we really are asking for original content and their opinions. Yeah. So
Sure.
that's what VTubers wants to have. We are not a, I don't know, we are not a movie 2K website. We just want original content, and that's it.
Sure. Well, though I will say that right here, this channel, Vintage Film, anybody who's just casually browsing the site and sees, 310 to Yuma, isn't that a copyrighted film? Vintage Film. I've shouted them out before on the previous platform, bit.tube, because they understand copyright law, and that film is in the public domain. So they always bring great value by sort of resurrecting old films and bringing them back into the public consciousness.
Yeah, and it's also a piece of history. So
I appreciate that's been a bit of the culture that's been built up over the last couple of years. Great. Thank you for taking a bit of a tangent there with me, a bit of a detour to talk a bit about the BitTubers platform and the BitTube browser right now. The BitTube browser, apparently, with the latest release that we see right here in front of us, it doesn't appear to be heavily branded. It just bears the name and logo of BitTube. And then in the upper right-hand corner, I see that the BitTube Airtime extension is pre-installed.
Yes, exactly.
That's mostly what people can expect, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it is, and then we maybe played around with some privacy settings to have more privacy there. And this was our first release, just to see how many people will actually use it, etc., to get some feedback. And we are working on the new version, and the new version is has already the torrent protocol implemented, and it's interacting with BitTubers. So I hope that we get this version soon ready to release finally updates.
The latest release of Firefox that I've downloaded and updated to, Firefox, or the Mozilla Foundation, they've pushed very much to improve a bit of the user experience with relation to ads and pop-ups especially. So I know that they're trying to make themselves an attractive option against browsers like Brave browser. Yes. I haven't done a head-to-head comparison with the latest releases, but I'm wondering, with development of BitTube browser, is there a plan to be more closely aligned with the latest releases of Firefox, or are you going to work it a bit like the Tor browser with a snapshot that works best for your features?
Our plan, it's one of the reasons why also we choose Firefox, is they have a much more cleaner repository. And this makes our life also, as a developer, it makes our life much more easier to keep on track with Firefox than with Chrome, or let's say Chromium, because many things are going on Chromium, and one of them are the manifest reasons for version 3 and stuff like that. And this is making the lives of the developers also very hard, because you are going basically against Google's decisions, and you need to cherry pick much more. You need to cross-develop against what they're trying to implement and stuff like that. So long-term wise, it's much more complicated than just going like with a company like Mozilla and their browser Firefox, because their minds and our minds are working closer to each other than with the people from Google.
A lot of users, they really like Chrome. They like Chromium. For my part, I'll interject my opinion here. I very much mistrust most of what comes out of the Chromium project, not because Chromium itself fails to observe best practices of open source, but because so much of it is built on the Google ecosystem. And it's so hard to decouple the user experience from the Google ecosystem, even when forking directly from Chromium. I wind up having, for me, a high degree of mistrust, because I wonder what of my activities is being tracked.
That's one of the points. We can take a look on Android, and on Android, when you take a look how many Google services in the background are connected to Android, I'm really afraid sometimes just to use it. I've seen last time a nice documentation of a comparison of two equal Android phones, and one of them they put into the Wi-Fi network, the other one they left in 4G, and one of the devices they put in airplane mode. And it was very interesting what happened, because they put a data analyzer behind it, and in the WIF one and the 4G one was just sending regular data, and the one which was in airplane mode, in the moment when it comes back to the network, it was sending 6 times more data out than the devices which was already connected to the network.
Good grief.
Exactly. The crazy things are going on.
Okay, yeah, I already had concerns there. Android open source project for me gives me maybe a little bit of hope, but I was really sad when Ubuntu or when Canonical gave up on their OS for their mobile OS with Ubuntu Mobile. Mozilla also, Firefox OS for mobile. I mean, so many have tried and then given up. WebOS too. It was phenomenal when it launched. I don't know if you recall, but WebOS was extremely usable.
I agree, and it's sad, but there are still some nice projects. I don't remember the names right now, but there are some nice privacy-oriented mobile browser operation systems, which are quite nice.
Maybe for another time, we'll have to do an episode just on that as a category of products, because I mean, lately I've been strongly considering going back to just a small flip phone with burner SIMs. I mean, the level of paranoia that the modern world can put you into, I mean, it's warranted, actually. The paranoia is, it's because we know we're being tracked at all times.
All the times, that's the point. And for what? Just for advertisements.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, what is it? First they came from a neighbor. First they came for the advertisement. Who knows what they'll be coming for, like you said, 3 to 5 years from now.
Exactly.
But, so going back to a bit of the project, let's talk a little bit about the unique advantage of specifically the Tube coin itself. So the blockchain project itself. Is there, and I'm going to bring us out of the screen share for now. Is there a specific advantage to Tube as a crypto note variant that you want to speak to today?
Yeah, I think the distribution model of the Tube tokens by himself are, I think, unique with our airtime system. And that's, I think, also a very interesting thing, because usually most of the project have a couple of, especially in the beginning, they have just a couple of thousand users, and they're getting a big bunch of the mined coins. And the airtime system basically is distributing this much more wider and much more smaller amounts in much more many hands. And which I think long-term wise, it's a good benefit to prevent crazy volatility for the coin himself.
We'll go to consensus in just a minute here, because I think that there's been a staking model attached to the consensus as well since we last interviewed, and I'm excited to cover that as well. But going back to the unique benefits and advantages of Tube as an ecosystem on your team. Is there a specific contributor or developer that you feel adds unique value to your project over, say, not just other crypto nodes, but other blockchain projects? This is your opportunity to brag about your team.
I think we have some of very good developers on board, which are coming up with really amazing solutions after brainstorming together with the team. And some of them are going new approaches where we know that nobody else except us has tried this ever before. And it's a big ocean of not research territory, let's say. And this kind of people, you need them to be open-minded, and it doesn't disagree with every approach we take, and you need this kind of mindset. And for my luck, we have some of that kind of developers there with an open mindset to just jump in the cold water and say, let's try it, and we'll see what's come up. And that's good to have this kind of people on board. Okay,
so it sounds like then that there's a great culture of developers then on the team that are very open to trying things that other crypto notes and other blockchains aren't doing.
I suppose so.
I get the sense that maybe you're being a bit humble as well. How many languages do you speak, Saber?
Actually 4.
Okay.
So it's German, Spanish, and English, and then also my mother language, Persian. So
okay.
4.
Got it. I was going to say, because clearly, I mean, we've spoken in English and your English is quite good. And we've had a couple of exchanges in Spanish, and clearly you have command of Spanish. If you know your English, obviously Spanish is not too hard to derive, the Romance languages. But then German, my father was a German speaker, and he and lived in Berlin in the 1960s, many years ago. But he communicated to me that German from somebody who's an English speaker, German it's not always as intuitive. That's quite a language to really dominate, right? German, to really, really know it.
That's totally true. And I for my luck, I mean, I was living, because of my parents, I was living almost 20 years in Vienna, in Austria, and also some time in Berlin and Germany. And for that reason, I've learned German is basically my mother language, so that's the best language I can talk about. So,
wow. Okay, definitely, it seems to dominate your accent as well. But you have an accent that I think covers, if I may say so, I think covers the range of the languages that you speak, and I view it personally as a sign of distinction and culture. So I know that it wouldn't be humble for you to acknowledge. Oh yeah, I am pretty. My language ability is pretty great. But I'll say it. I'm impressed. As far as the contribution to the code base of BitTube, you pushed the first commit. Do you still wind up pulling commit requests? How active are you in development?
Not so much anymore. Let's say, I'm very active in my other businesses or in my other projects, which are the base income of my companies. So I'm trying to keep with my other team, all the other businesses up. So in that way, we have enough financial power to continue with BitTube, and because this is a private project, let's say, for myself, my own vision, and so with my other businesses, we covered the costs of BitTube just to continue. This is what I'm basically doing, and then sure, I'm thinking a lot and brainstorming with the team to continue for BitTube by himself.
If you don't mind me asking, since you bring up your other businesses, what is the nature of the industries that you also work in?
Don't laugh. It's about lawyers. So lawyers, I have one of my biggest clients. It's the market leader in Germany for lawyer software, and we are contributing there with our own modules and software which we are developing for them. And privacy is a big thing in that branch, and protection, security, etc. So we are working on that part. That's one of that. And the second one is I have a co-working center, and for that reason, I'm meeting also a lot of new, amazing developers and have good networks, etc.
That's what pays the bills, though. Is these other
that's what pays the bills. I mean, I can tell you honestly, from all the tubes which we got from each blog or whatever we buy, etc., we are the last one which would sell any kind of tube, at least not for the next years. There is no plan for it. So everything what we are investing in BitTube, it's really done with just fiat, and that's also the reason why we are there. I mean, when we would trust just on the success of the tube coin by himself, I suppose BitTube would not exist. And for my luck, the setup when we started the project, it was set up with basically fiat backup, and that's the reason why it's growing.
That makes sense to me. In interviewing several other projects, when I ask them about governance and when I ask them about funding, there winds up being a little bit of an issue with them saying, "Oh, well, we're a purely community project and we're really struggling."
Even when you had an ICO, a successful ICO in 2017, I mean, sooner or later you're running out of money. So, yeah. And I think that's the longest bear market we have ever seen since crypto exists, and it just needs, I suppose, another year in that market, and many, many more projects will be out of the game.
Yeah.
So it's necessary from the beginning to back it up well enough with fiat from other sources.
Let me ask you, as far as collaborations, whether it is a company, right, so a corporate formation that then comes into this open source space, or it is a community-oriented project that then has a really strong governance model that allows for the funding to really sustain it. I think one of the strongest signs of a positive development culture is the amount of collaboration that takes place between one project and other projects. Bare minimum, in the sense that there's responsible disclosure given of problems with Codebase, or when you see an issue with, even if it's a competing Codebase saying, "Hey, we see an issue," and instead of burning them, trying to assist and instead of maybe sabotaging. What can you speak to with the BitTube development community? Have you contributed to other code bases, even just crypto notes? How, and has that been reciprocated? Have you ever received any kind of critical bug information from any other teams?
Yeah, I can tell you, and especially in 2018, there was a lot of things going on when there was, I don't know, network attacks or whatever. So we contributed, or we talked with other developers from other projects, or giving them tips, or also in the other way around, we got some hints to fix that or change that, or this is something critical before the community knows that there is a hoax or there is a bug or something like that, that we fix it before the public knows that. Yeah, and that's I think we have a good relation with other projects, even with one of the main developers of Monero, and to solve these issues quickly and before it gets out of control.
Is this anybody that works for Monero Research Labs or works on the core product?
On the core product.
Very cool. Pardon my ignorance, but I was under the impression that BitTube, the initial IPVC, had forked from a more close code base to Bytecoin and not Monero.
To be honest, in the first version, it was the original CryptoNode himself. It was even not Monero. So I think 3 forks later, we switched from the original CryptoNode to the Monero Codebase, which was pain in the ass by the end. And here I want also to say again a big thanks to Seth Green, and that guy. He's special for sure, but he was still an amazing guy, which also walked with us through this change to come back from CryptoNode to the Monero base. And I tell you also honestly that I have seen that many people has left the crypto space during this bear market or whatever, and at some point I'm also a little bit sad that he left the crypto space, and he was a good guy by the end of the day. I mean, He did a lot of things, but from his technical point of view, very interesting, good developer.
I hadn't realized that Seb Green was not active in the crypto space right now. I think that he launched a project, a CryptoNote himself, and was lead maintainer for a time.
What I have seen or heard is that 6 months ago, I suppose, that he just shut down everything and left the space.
It's too bad.
I hope that he's not the only one. I know many others, and I hope that some of them are coming back, and hopefully we will see a bull run again.
My interactions with him have been personally mixed, but there's no doubt of his intelligence and his ability. And in many cases, he's much more private about where he's helpful to other projects, but he's a very humble person in that regard.
I don't want to judge at him or anything. I'm just saying from technical point of view, he is impressive. And it's a sad day that he is not contributing anymore.
Man, I'm gonna have to follow up with him and actually get a proper interview this time. I think you already answered how the BitTube project was funded and how it is continually funded. If I may ask more pointedly, it's a private operation, so you do not publish your funding figures.
No, for sure not.
Got it. Yeah, some teams, in some cases, there was a partial ICO and then a partial pre-mine or an insta-mine, or there's so many ways, right, that these projects fund themselves. So
I mean, there is some point where we have no troubles when somebody's asking us in public if we want to show the public that we have not really sold our tubes, which we are getting and stuff like that. There is no issue. We can present that at any time. But when somebody's asking me to show in public which kind of income I have, how I'm financing tube, in that way, I would say, I'm sorry, but that's
yeah. You ask my friend, so are you offering to invest in my companies? Then I'll show you my books.
Exactly.
Okay. That makes sense. I understand that. Yeah. As far as there being a bit of a developer fund from the block reward, is there a developer fund right now? You mentioned tubes that the team is getting. And does that go to a foundation or does that go to a private corporation?
To the BitTube SL. BitTube SL is basically the company behind BitTube. I have created the BitTube company just for that project, and only BitTube is inside of this project. And I'm financing BitTube with credits, let's say month by month, and to continue to pay the employers, etc. And the tubes, we hold them. We are getting 10% as a developer fee from each block by himself, and we keep them in a wallet, and we will leave them for a long time there until we see that mass adoption actually on BitTube is happening. Then we will see how it's going forward.
Okay, so it's safe to say then that the BitTube Corporation is the largest staked in individual in the coin's success.
I suppose so.
Okay,
we are.
Okay, well, and it sounds like nobody else has provided their a private view key to to see their holdings. That's awesome. Okay, maybe in the end, I don't want to make it weird by asking for the view key and posting it publicly, but I might ask some other time just because now I'm curious.
Yeah, you can. I mean, we have no trouble with that, so we are not doing something bad with it. And I honestly, I suppose that I'm by myself. I'm the biggest investor inside of BitTube, so and I have nothing to hide here in there because we believe that in the next upcoming years, when it goes like I think it will go with all the social media and censorship and all that things, that Tube could have a nice chance to be one of the market leaders there in some sections. And for that reason, it would be just insane to drop the Tubes right now.
Yeah.
When we have other sources.
Well, I know for my part, I mean, my involvement in the BitTube project in terms of, I mean, disclosure to anybody who's watching. Yes, I hold some tube, and however, the only tube that I hold is a result of either tips on the platform or from airtime rewards on the platform. So, but I feel very good about having been able to reciprocate those airtime rewards to viewers as well.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Yeah, I think I was fortunately able to boast being, I think, the first content producer on the last iteration of the platform to give over 20,000 tube away, which was, I'm happy about that. But so moving on with the project itself, you're funded privately, and so and you use a privately held corporation to work on development, but you do have a bit of a hybrid, but you do publicly display your stake in the coin, which is, I think, unique. I don't know how many projects do that. Since you're using a crypto note, you would have to provide a private view key in order for people to know that. So that's an interesting form of transparency, but it seems like it is important. Let me ask, as far as problems with the code base, any kind of attacks or threats, whether it be an inflation bug, a botnet attack, some other kind of hash rate attack, maybe purchasing hash power from a larger farm or an aggregator like NiceHash, 51%.
Yeah.
Any kind of problems that have come up from the beginning of BitTube until now. Is there a short list of those, of the biggest threats, and how did you solve them?
I need to talk with one of my developers. Maybe he has a list of all that. But yes, sure, there was some for sure. And I remember, especially in the beginning, there was quite few of them, and especially because we had the same algorithm, the same difficulty algorithm from Monero, and for sure for Monero it was not a big case because they have so many hash rate that when you when you are mining with peaks and something like that, the difficulty is it's not affecting the Monero network hash rate, but it was a horrible scenario for small coins like IPBC at this time, and we was needing to adjust or develop a new way of the algorithm to adjust the difficulty quickly or faster without to lose the transactions and everything. Because I remember very well before we implemented the new algorithm, when somebody was attaching just 2 mega hashes or something like that just to get the block rewards, and then the network would be dead for the next 2-3 days before the difficulty algorithm is coming down. And that kind of things we have solved already back in 2018, and now the network is adjusting much more quickly. I mean, even when somebody right now, I think our network has 4 mega hashes, I think so, when I'm not wrong. Even when right now somebody would come with 2 mega hashes directly for peak mining, the difficulty would adjust so quickly that he would have no benefits of it. And before it was different. He would just get all the blocks and get all the tubes or IPVC in these times and leave the network dry.
Sounds like then the way that you've attempted to counteract the possible malicious consequences of a hash rate attack is primarily through difficulty adjustment then. No other chain locks or depow or any of these other different mechanisms that are being used out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like that's worked pretty well so far.
Yeah, that works pretty far. Another big change was the algorithm that we had a custom version of CryptoNode Heavy for the algorithm. We switched it with Saber. We turned off the soft IS and prevent FPGAs, ASICs, and so on. And until now it works quite well, and until we see what brings the technology in the next years to prevent that kind of things.
As far as there being a unique tech advantage or benefit to not just Tube, the coin, but also to the ecosystem in general on the roadmap, what's coming out relatively soon that somebody who's unfamiliar with the project would stop and say, ooh, that's interesting, I should take a closer look?
March or April, we're implementing torrent hashes. So basically, we are not storing the videos on the chain because that's, for us, it's just insane. But we partially will save the information on the chain directly. So like stuff like Immutable was the creator, it was self-Estrada, this is the hash of his torrent, these are the likes and upvotes which he got, and we update this information on chain, and whoever is syncing with the chain, he will be able to rebuild the data which we have on BitTubers based just on the chain, and then he can filter out what kind of content he would like to show on his own platform. Let's say when you're forking PeerTube or stuff like that, and you just hook it up to the BitTube chain, and you can say, okay, filter out all this porn and stuff like that, as an example, or you just want this kind of creators, you can set up your filters and you synchronize it with the chain, and ta-da, you have your new platform.
To make sure that I understand, I apologize. If for example, I wanted to fork the platform and I wanted to serve something of a microblog that only served content from CryptoRich, I could do that.
Exactly, yes. That's the idea behind it. And I think it's an interesting approach to have just the information on the chain, and the videos by himself gets again seeded with the torrent protocol, and in that way you have full control of what's going on, and you can filter by yourself as the platform owner what kind of content you want to show on your own platform, and which is then matching again with your terms of services. That's
pretty awesome. I'm very excited about this, and it sounds like then the BitTubers platform itself, then at least a portion of the code base will be publicly available and then open sourced in order to make this, to facilitate this forking and then republishing.
Exactly, and the BitTubers platform also by himself is modular, so we built it with different kind of modules. So, for example, I don't know, when you can just disable different kind of modules when you doesn't want to have, for example, the live stream section, or you doesn't want to have the comment section or stuff like that. So we will open source the whole project, and then you can just rebuild it with yourself. And for that reason, we choose the hybrid system, because with the hybrid system, we have the benefits of performance and speed, and then we have the torrent protocol layer and the chain layer, which is taking care about the decentralized part. And it's much more easier for the owners of the platforms forking that and setting it up. That's much more easier than doing everything from scratch.
One aspect of the platform that I know I haven't shown on the screen, and maybe we hadn't discussed so far in the conversation, is that there's a private messaging system that's attached to each account that allows for, at least on platform, for private messages to be sent. Is there any kind of encryption layer there, or as far as there being a database, in what way is that data handled? I bring that up only because in these conversations about privacy, private messaging it's been huge, right? So forks of Signal are happening all over the place. Mixin Wallet is putting a multi-wallet on your phone with Signal, essentially. Some other teams are creating their own forks of Signal and then creating a service node network to then try to create their own custom version of onion routing to then relay Signal and leave no trace of metadata. There's a lot related to messaging right now as a value add to other projects. That's very big. How is messaging handled on BitTubers?
It's encrypted, but it's centralized. So, and for that reason, we are taking a deep look in, I don't know if you are aware of that project or not, but it's the Matrix protocol, which is very impressive for us. And we are taking a deep look in that, and we are adjusting our messaging protocol on the Matrix protocol, which is, I think, a nice approach, because it's private, it's secure, and we have a lot of options with it, which is, in my point of view, a better choice than the Signal, because Signal, by the end of the day, it's just an end-to-end encryption between the messages, but there is still, for example, Amazon buckets between, and that's something which we don't like, and we prefer to go directly peer-to-peer.
I'm pulling it up on another browser right now. Matrix.org is apparently what you're evaluating today.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Got it. Well, I look forward to hearing more about whether or not there's a firm decision to definitely integrate that, and at what point you do merge that into the code base for a future release. Because it sounds like anybody who forks the BitTubers platform, whether it's as a microblog, their own personal publishing, or whatever else, they'll benefit from this.
That's the plan. I mean, we will still continue to contribute on BitTubers, and all the people which are forking it, they can accept the changes or cherry pick the changes or not. So it's their decision,
okay,
what they want or not.
Cool. Well, I look forward to being able to, possibly choose Matrix as a module for my own fork. I mean, by all means, get me off of Shopify. Get me off of Squarespace. I would much prefer to have a crypto-oriented, crypto-based, and privacy-oriented solution to my publishing. So
yes,
I'm excited about that. Let's talk a little bit about proof of work, or just consensus in general. Today, what percentage of the block reward goes to proof of work mining?
45% of each block.
And then how much would go to staking in your case? There are no master nodes today.
I'm not a fan of master nodes, to be honest, and for that reason, I try always to prevent that. So we have 45% goes for the miners which are mining the network. 45% goes to the airtime system, and for the distribution to all the users. 10% goes to us, and 5%, when I'm not wrong, is for community fees. So investing. The community has this kind of coins, and they can do, riddles and polls and building games or whatever they want.
I apologize. I haven't kept my finger on the pulse of block rewards, and I didn't realize there was a community reward. So for the record right now, for the benefit of the audience, did I make any kind of a request for any of those funds, or did we arrange any kind of a bounty for this interview?
No, we didn't agree on anything.
Okay,
so
great.
Just a talk by talk.
Awesome. Okay, just making sure that, I think that even though I do hold some coin, I wanted to make it very clear to the audience that was not what made this interview possible.
No, that was definitely not so.
Okay.
I can promise that.
Great.
Just also for the community, that they know, I mean, these tubes are there, and when they come up with great ideas or whatever, and they want to build, or they want to pay another developer to build something or whatever, I mean, that coins are built for it to do this kind of activities. So come up with your idea, set up a poll, the community can decide, and you have free access on the coins to do whatever you want with it.
That gives it the entire percentage breakdown then of block reward. As far as any other consensus mechanisms used, the only consensus mechanisms would be stake, proof of stake, and then proof of work.
Exactly.
Okay, and the staking mechanism is it's proof of stake 3.0, or is the consensus primarily achieved through mining with some additional consensus with staking?
Right now, it's just mining, pure proof of work mining, and we have two kinds of proof of stake. The one we have right now, it's attached to the airtime system. So basically, you can stake your tubes, and based on that, we are changing the rewards which you are receiving based on the time of whatever. And we are working on another proof of stake system, which is directly on chain, but that's future. Let's say we need to figure out many things, how we want to approach that, and I expect it will definitely take another year, because we would like to have a hybrid system between proof of work and proof of stake, and it's not only the technical, it's not only a technical implementation issue. It's just also we doesn't know how the exchanges will behave, especially like Bittrex. We doesn't know how how the coin by himself will get treated as a security or not, and we are waiting for that kind of decisions before we are going forward and activate it.
For 8 years since Satoshi left the public view, public eye, and we're still in the infancy of cryptocurrency by way of regulatory conditions and socio-political acceptance and just recognition, right? You have. And when you have characters like Nouriel Roubini, who are literally saying that cryptocurrency doesn't exist and that people don't use it, there's a lot of work to be done.
Exactly, and we are also waiting to see in which direction it goes, to see in which direction basically it goes before we are releasing this kind of things, which could be also risky at at some point.
Definitely appreciate the thoughtfulness that goes into moving slowly there and making very conscious decisions. Can I ask, as far as block reward, is there any other percentage of block reward that from the beginning of the project has been given to anyone else, not listed, not mentioned, or currently is given to anyone else, not listed or mentioned, or that you foresee giving to somebody else?
I told everything.
Okay, I was going to say, you're like, oh, nope. There's that one little bit that goes to the NSA every month, so they don't destroy us.
No, I was just breaking it down. It was 45 here, 45 there, 10 for us, 5 here. I think we're fine.
Great. I'm just curious. Yeah, somebody else like, yeah, we have a little stipend that we give to Keanu Reeves every month, just because we're fans. It's the Keanu Reeves coin. The consensus mechanism used at launch, proof of work only, correct?
Yes.
Great. Exactly. And consensus, as you mentioned, will be on a sliding scale from not just proof of work to potentially proof of stake on-chain, proof of stake consensus then in the future.
I believe that it's more efficient, let's say. I mean, proof of work, it's an amazing algorithm, but we can all, I think, agree that it's not very energy efficient. And we are especially for Tube, it makes sense to have different kind of algorithms there in place to fulfill all the needs. I mean, the things which are interesting for us is definitely proof of work. That's something I love by myself, so I don't want to say bye-bye to it. That's the first thing. Proof of stake, it's interesting for investors and etc. And another thing, another algorithm which we love, by the way, is the proof of capacity from the Burst project, and we're in touch with their developers. That makes also perfect sense for BitTube, just for the seeders and hosters of the files, etc. And these are three things, three protocols where we have deep interest on it, and we are trying to build a mix of them to fulfill the needs for the whole ecosystem and all the participants on it.
There's quite a bit that's under evaluation. You weren't kidding about keeping an open mind in development. Okay.
We need.
Yeah, it's great. And proof of capacity with the Burstcoin project, it sounds like in the past the bit.tube platform was powered by IPFS, and so proof of capacity is fairly. I want to say proof of capacity is used for IPFS as well, not just
exactly. I mean, when you as a user or whoever has some storage space available, it's an interesting approach for us because we can use the space and fill it with good content, let's say, and they get their share of it when they host it and when they're seeding it, actually. And it's a good approach. We have turned back our way from the IPFS protocol because it's an amazing protocol, but honestly, after all our experience with it, and I think we was one of the leaders to have experience on it, it's a great protocol for small data. It's a good protocol for having small sized data, but as soon you need to deal with gigabytes and gigabytes and gigabytes of data, the way IPFS is set up is just too slow for our needs, and that's the main issue for us. The idea behind IPFS is amazing, but the implementation, which we have seen, especially on the structure of the layer of storing the files, is not that highly efficient. And for that reason, we preferred to go with the torrent system because it matches or fits better to fulfill our needs.
On that note, a bit of a technical question regarding the torrent system for content publishers. I have a personal interest in the answer to this question, of course. As far as content publishers being able to seed the torrent for their own content, when they upload to their profile, is then the file that they've uploaded then seeded from their own storage, or can they serve that from, say, a VPS?
Exactly. That's something you can do. I mean, on BitTubers right now, it gets uploaded to one of our central cloud services, and from there on, it gets proceed to the torrent system. And right now, we are seeding it on our custom servers. But like I say, the idea behind it is to have the browser, and on the browser, you can just host just your own files, and that's it. And the browser had a headless option, so you can do it also on the CLI. On just a VPS or whatever you want.
Got it. I can say personally, very selfishly, if there were some option, and I know this, a lot of people who are very much into the decentralize all the things and disintermediate everything, they'll take issue with what I'm about to say. But I would love to see some kind of a package for for either Ubuntu or for CentOS or something else, so that if I were to spin up a server on Scaleway or on Vultr or anywhere else, if I knew I could just install a package and then know there were an easy way for me to maybe FTP content from wherever I am here over to my VPS. Yeah, that would.
I totally agree.
Yeah, that would be phenomenal. I mean, especially then there would possibly need to be some sort of work on the FTP client or some kind of GUI for some kind of client for uploading to that VPS. That would be that'd be amazing as a content publisher. I understand that there's definitely the possibility of abuse in situations like that, where whatever the content farms who have 10,000 videos of dash cam footage from Russia of people crashing into each other, and they're always doing it, right? They upload to a new platform, and then their profile gets taken down. No problem. They upload it again.
Yeah, there's a lot of abuse, and that's also the point. I mean, when they're abusing it, it's also a lot of costs are get producing, and this starts already by the network costs to upload there. The transcoding costs money, and that and here, and then it needs moderators. They're costing also money, so the chain is quite long, and the costs which get produced is quite high.
Yeah. Well, the serial abusers they're a little bit considerate in that they tend to compress their files to under 10 megabytes per file, and they tend to keep them in 720p resolution to decrease the transcoding costs. I've studied them just a little bit. They're a unique breed, but they've got it down to a science. So
that's true.
So just curious, and I think we've had some informal conversations about this. Some of the developers and I as well have had some informal conversations about this because content is so important in today's world. So especially for anybody that runs a reasonably modernized business, right? Their own Marcom goes out through video, and so it seems like empowering the publisher is good, but you seem very familiar with all the risks within proof of work. CPU, GPU, and then bit streams for an FPGA, and then ultimately an ASIC. We know that it turns into an arms race when the proof of work algorithm is kept sedentary or still too long. It becomes a target for this progression. Where do you think this is headed in general for the industry or for Tube? And then what does your project view as a reasonable decentralization of hash rate?
I think you still know that I love GPUs, so I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan of CPUs because of the possibilities. I'm sorry. Sheila, fuera. I'm sorry. My dog found a way to come in.
¿Tienes perro hispanohablante?
See.
He doesn't understand English. That's great.
And I'm a GPU fan. I'm a CPU fan, and I'm not a fan of FPGAs or ASICs. I can understand it for the Bitcoin network, etc., that they have their custom devices for the network. But I think BitTube or the Tube network by himself, the Tube mining, should be just for individuals, which has the possibility to do so. And we will try to keep that as far as possible.
All right. So it sounds like as long as somebody's contributing with GPU, then there's not too big a concern of the person occasionally grabbing a warehouse full of them and attempting to bomb the network. It's not too big a problem.
No.
Okay.
I suppose not.
Great. What would cause you to fork? What level of a threat would it require for you to say, okay, we're forking now?
Quantum computers is a possible thing. So let's see how it goes there. This is something to be afraid about. And we need to see in which direction it goes. And with the last informations and announcement from Google in which direction they're heading and which kind of possibilities are there to have in near future such devices also at home, could be maybe a reason.
But it sounds like even then there's a bit of hope that a fork would merely accommodate whatever the new infrastructure is.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just a bit of a question of sort of customer avatar, if you will, for the person that mines Tube coin at home. Who do you want mining for you?
For everyone which likes the projects and would like to support the project. And I would wish and hope that we have more miners which really mine just for the value of Tube to support the network, like in the last decade, let's say, with the beginning of cryptocurrency, and not just for mining to make profits and go ahead.
Okay, so you want true believers, ideally.
Yes, that's
awesome.
what I prefer. Yeah, because that's the kind of people you can work with for long-term success.
People who are here to just dump the coin, get out of here.
Yes,
okay,
please.
So let's turn the conversation a little bit towards privacy. What percentage of transactions on your coin network are currently private based on user behavior? Or that's actually two questions. What percentage are private, and does it require the user to opt in to privacy?
Wallet-to-wallet transaction is fully private, so, and that's the way I also prefer. I'm a big fan of. Sorry, let me go back. For some months ago, we had conversations because especially Upbit was delisting BitTube because of the privacy level we have, etc. And that's something interesting because I believe that crypto should have high privacy. That's an important key for the success of crypto. And what I don't like are many of the centralized exchanges are decoupling the privacy from the activities on their platforms. And that's something which I don't like, to be honest, because I think privacy is one of the major keys for crypto to succeed. And I can understand that people are abusing sometimes the privacy, etc. But to be honest, the things which people are doing with the transactions, with the regular fiat system, it's much more worse than what they're doing on privacy coins, let's say. And for the success of crypto, for me, privacy is a big need. And on BitTube especially, privacy is a big step, and we have no plans ever to remove this part from BitTube because it's the key for me, also for content creators. It's a must have.
No, that makes sense in terms of ensuring that that people are not that content goes uncensored. I think you're totally right in terms of the monetization. We see it with why am I drawing blank? Real Sexy Cyborg. Woo. You know who I'm talking about, the content creator out of China, and she's she's rather brilliant. Right. And it's obvious that she's rather brilliant and her content is very good. Much of it is very much focused on getting girls and women into STEM. And but then she's censored because she's demonetized continually from one platform to another.
That's the last way to shut up the mouth of some people. And that's the way it is right now, and I think the future should be the monetization part should be totally with privacy, and then in that way nobody can shut down the voice of somebody.
Jumping back into the technical question about privacy, the current percentage level of transactions that are private is essentially 100 when it's wallet to wallet. 100. And in fact, you mentioned it was so private that you've been delisted from exchanges. Upbit was the notable delisting.
Exactly. We talked also with the Bittrex team, and we told them because of this Upbit event how it will go with the Bittrex listing, and they told us sure they cannot talk about it. It's an internal thing, but we should be not that much worried. So I'm fine with that, but. I tell you honestly, with centralized exchanges from Binance up to Bittrex or TradeOrder, you never know. I mean, today they're fine and tomorrow they aren't. So there is always a risk there. And that's also one of the reasons why Tube, by the way, is working on atomic swaps and stuff like that, which is also really difficult for that kind of chain. But we are trying to set up BitTube on different DEXs, and let's see how it goes, because I think that's the future crypto needs, that we're going away from centralized exchanges to decentralized ones. And that's our major thing.
It sounds like atomic swaps on any crypto node benefits every crypto node.
Exactly.
Okay,
that's something very interesting. And I hope, or I wish that this is coming up as soon as possible, because it's a necessary need to have that, to be independent from that kind of exchanges.
That gets me really excited also about the future roadmap. And I mean, obviously without holding anybody to a specific timeline to see that you come to fruition. There's a lot that, I mean, for example, I'm sure that many coins that are forks of Zcash wish that they didn't have to use trusted setup, but they do.
Yes.
So there are some things that just take time. Makes sense. So the privacy mechanism used then is the CryptoNote protocol. Everything that was laid out in the CryptoNote white paper, but has been since probably most well executed by Monero, is used by BitTube.
Exactly.
Okay. And as far as the development of it, is it safe to say that most of the credit then goes to Monero Research Labs? Has there been anything on the privacy front that the BitTube team has contributed to privacy?
No. It's all of that. It goes directly to the Monero.
Got it. Okay.
Guys. Yeah.
Awesome.
And they're amazing. I mean, they're doing an incredible job there. And I mean, it doesn't need to reinvent the wheel when they're already doing it well.
So. Sure. Well, and it sounds like the major value proposition of BitTube, not only as a coin and with the block reward, but also as a project, the main value proposition is outside of the scope of just transactions. So it makes sense that you would want to build on the foundation that's laid by other teams that only are focused on transactions.
Exactly.
Okay, so as far as peer review, are you aware of any peer review, any scholarly study that's been done on the CryptoNote protocol?
Not directly.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not up to date.
Fair enough. It's one of these spaces where, based on the responses that I've heard so far, it's kind of hard to know who's qualified to review different cryptography and privacy technologies. Case in point, a vulnerability found in the Zero Cash protocol. There was a comment made on it by I think after several dozen people had reviewed it, saying that that it uses moon math. The people who would be qualified to criticize it or to critique it, they're so rare. I mean, they're the sorts of people that work work for the cosmonauts in over in Russia, or they put our astronauts into space over here at NASA. I mean, these are we have their minds working on the International Space Station because it's so specialized.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it's very rare to find the experts to do so.
Makes perfect sense to me that you would build on a code base that you know essentially just works and then contribute where you can. As far as it requiring trusted setup, and you know the answer to this, everybody watching should know the answer to this already, but does your system require trusted setup to have anonymity and privacy?
No, not really.
Okay. And are you aware of the anonymity set size for CryptoNote?
The
anonymity set size?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. In a number, are you aware of what it is? Do you know what it is?
I have no idea.
Okay.
To be honest.
Got it. I've seen different analyses. Some say that on a per transaction basis, the anonymity set size is 11. But then the network effect of having so many transactions couched in an anonymity set size of 11, I'm sure increases the anonymity and the privacy. But again, I'm not an expert. I'm not a cryptographer, so I can't speak to that.
Yo tampoco.
So to ask about chain analysis, I'm sure you're already aware the growing pains of working with different exchanges. One of the recent growing pains of some public ledgers has been that chain analysis has been successfully executed on Bitcoin, for example, and some users of exchanges have been kicked off of exchange for having used mixers, right? Tumblers, things like Wasabi Wallet, CoinJoin, in other implementations. And they then say, well, we sense that you did this within a half dozen jumps of off-ramping. Frankly, it's none of their business. It'd be like you taking cash out of the bank, but they then say, we don't like you anymore.
And you're out of the business. Exactly. It's I mean, to be honest, it's the same story with the regular banks right now for fiat, no? At some point, they took over the power, and then they start to be the main drivers of taking decisions. And that's just simply wrong.
I agree. I'm curious with BitTube, has anyone ever claimed that chain analysis has been successfully executed?
Not that I'm aware about.
Are you familiar with both the cost in terms of data size, like transaction size in data, and then proof time and verification time? Are you aware of the parameters that govern a given transaction? How long it takes, how much more data it takes over, say, not being private?
I'm definitely not the expert, but we could arrange another meeting with our blockchain developer.
But it sounds like right now the block time is 120 seconds. Is that
Yes.
approximately how long it takes to receive verification of a transaction?
Then you have the confirmations.
What is the max number of confirmations? And let's do the math here.
The minimum, it's definitely 10. Then it depends how you set up the things. Like in exchange, for example, Bittrex has, when I'm not wrong, 20 confirmations, but 10 are definitely the minimum. So, and then multiplicated to 120 seconds of the block time, you have your number of 20 minutes.
So it can take 20 minutes to 40 minutes, and then for full confirmation, but the transaction shows within the first block.
Exactly. It shows up in the first block.
Makes sense. And that sounds like that is the cost of privacy then in terms of time.
Exactly. I mean, privacy costs always time, no? I mean, let's go to the real world, and you can browse the web directly, or you can switch you can browse with the Tor network or with the VPN, and there is always a delay.
It makes sense. So I spoke to Simon from the Loki network recently, and his interview will be coming out in this series. Do you talk at all with the Loki network team? Is there any kind of collaboration there at all? They seem a little bit siloed off.
I'm not directly in touch, but when I'm not wrong, one of our developers, for our blockchain developers, in touch with one of the team members there. At least they have contact, but I'm not sure how deep the contact is.
I think that they're working on something by way of faster transaction and settlement. Not settlement, but faster transaction. And I'm not sure if it would be directly applicable with Tube and the way that you are trying to structure your blockchain, but maybe worth reaching out on that point. Everybody's working in open source. So
I'm following actually the Loki project because I like the fork of the Signal and their custom messenger, etc. So it's quite interesting, and I'm following their setup from month to month, let's say. Yeah, sure, definitely. They're doing a good job, so why not?
I apologize. I sidetracked us just a little bit there, but the thing I like about being able to have these conversations is that hopefully there are stronger connections made with the projects that are currently surviving right now in 2020. And there's a better sort of ecumenical response from the community that's left right now. Because not every approach is right. And certainly everybody agrees the work isn't done, right? Like,
yes, that's the point.
Yeah. So, So I'll ask about transaction amount, and the answer for every crypto node is the same, but is the transaction amount visible?
No, it's not, except you have directly the keys to prove it, to decode it.
Okay. And
so you need to pass them.
The origin and destination address, wallet address, are they known? Are they visible?
No.
Are there any other privacy functions that BitTube supports on-chain other than transacting coins?
Not yet, no.
Okay. As far as the ecosystem, privacy features that are offered by the project and empowered by the coin, for example, the platform BitTubers, there's not a whole lot by way of privacy offered there yet until the messenger goes fully encrypted.
Exactly. So on BitTubers, there's many things, but privacy, let's say, depends. So when we have different kind of models, so when you just register yourself and you doesn't verify yourself, then you have full privacy. That's the first thing. Then when you verify yourself, then you have less privacy, but then you have higher earnings because the system, basically the network, can trust you that you're not abusing the network just for making more airtime, let's say. Or you have full privacy when you are registering yourself just with unknown data, and then you just need to verify yourself because you can verify with a stake of tubes to bypass the verification. That's also a way of it to do it, to have full privacy and have the full benefits of the system.
So you can completely verify an account using anonymous means by leveraging a fully private coin on a fully private blockchain.
Exactly.
Great. Or rather, a blockchain that allows for privacy and anonymity as a feature. Okay.
Correct.
Great. Okay, so it sounds like then there's a much higher degree of anonymity and privacy there. I think what's difficult when it comes to content publishing is that we have this habit in 2020 of doxing ourselves by appearing on camera and by appearing in public. And we're told this is the main feature, but we know also that we're losing quite a bit by having that behavior. So So it's great to hear that there's some of that offered, some ways, small ways to reclaim that a little bit on the platform.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So as far as there being support in third-party wallets, are there many third-party wallets that support Tube today?
Not that I know. So right now we have our Android, iOS, our own extension or web wallets, etc., but no third party. I think Tube is right now not that interesting to support it.
Okay.
Let's say.
Well, you wouldn't be the only crypto node that's, for whom that's the case. I think there are a lot, and it sounds like there are integration fees that are always asked, right? When you say, hey, you've got an interesting wallet, and they say, hey, we think you have money.
Exactly. That's the point. I mean, we're getting basically daily some kind of offers, but
this may be edited out possibly, but I think I'd like to just bring up that Edge wallet is apparently open source, and I don't know that the Zcoin team is being charged for integration there, but the lead developer and maintainer on Edge wallet wants to enable their coin in a fully private by default mode, which is not the default operating mode of their coin and of their network. So I wonder if maybe the Edge wallet team is seeking a greater presence for privacy coins on their wallet. I don't know.
I have no idea, but would be good.
Throw that out there. It'd be great to see. Great to see Tube listed in a multi-wallet for users of and holders of several coins.
I will take a look also on that.
Mobile wallet support. It sounds like you have the mobile web wallet. Does that support every necessary function?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can do your transactions, you can prove them, you have integrated wallets, all the transactions, everything is there, you can import, etc. You have full access to your keys, even on the extension wallet or the web wallet, so you have full control of your system. And we are bringing back again the iOS and the Android wallet with the upcoming fork, so we have updated them. They're on the latest changes, and they're coming back because I think they're necessary.
On that note, because the Tube project offers more than a wallet, you also offer a browser as a part of the experience in terms of earning part of the block reward. Is there currently the BitTube browser available on both iOS and Android?
We have not publicly released it, so it's not available in the Play Store, but we have an APK linked in our Discord where people can test it out and see how it goes with the Android version. It's quite interesting. To be honest, I'm using it by myself because the mobile Android browser has also integrated the airtime system, and for that reason, I'm using it.
Excellent. And I'm curious, so having used the airtime extension for some time now, I've noticed also it has integrated ad block, but also has an integrated VPN, which subtracts from the daily airtime block reward that one might earn. Yeah.
And the interesting part about our VPN, there is really absolutely no logging. So everything is turned off, and that's quite good. And I'm using it very often by myself. So when I would not trust my own system because, let's say, we would log too much or we would log anything, then I would have issues by myself because my team members would know what I'm doing. So for that reason, I can promise you that there is no logging, nothing on there.
Is there any plan on the BitTube team to create a VPN that, for example, could be installed on a security router and then log all internet traffic as part of airtime?
Let's talk in 2 years, 3 years about that, because there are plans on the table. And, I have a schematic of it, at least, from one of our developers. But to be honest, we have just zero time to go in that direction.
I'm only somewhat caught up on some of the proposed standards for tracking like some of the JavaScript front end for tracking the viewing time of a given web browser. And because apparently some of these things are being written into standards. So it sounds like then these are some of the libraries and APIs that you're having to work with, as opposed to just monitoring traffic on a router then.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. I know it's very easy for a layperson like me to ask something impossible from a developer. Like, why can't you just do this? It should be easy, right? So I try to be conscious of that. It sounds like the mobile wallet support is there. Kudos for doing that. India and South Asia, Southeast Asia, some of these markets where for a lot of users of technology, the mobile first experience may be their only experience, right, of the digital world.
Yes.
So if it doesn't exist on a on Android or iPhone, then to them it just doesn't exist.
That's the point. That's also our focus for the next few months is our mobile versions of BitTuber. So our plan is to release until the end of quarter one the beta version of the mobile version, which is impressive because there is another development team which is developing that kind of application now, and they are doing an incredible work. I can't wait to share the beta of it, and then with the next BTC halving, there will be the public release for every one of that application, and I think it could be a game changer because it's different.
I'm looking forward to the release, the update there. Then I mean to ask, and this is just a canonical question, something I'm asking every project, so we have apples to apples. The privacy features of the BitTube blockchain, do they remain intact on the mobile wallet?
Yes, they are.
Great.
They are.
Okay, this is important to ask because again, with other protocols, other privacy protocols that are used on different coins, they break on mobile wallets because they're difficult to implement.
I mean, privacy is a big thing for us, and they say that we have no plans to change that or to lower the privacy, just to continue. No.
And then future privacy plans for the blockchain itself, and then for whether it has to do with consensus or has to do with mobile wallet features or adding on-chain messaging or on-chain whatever. Are there future privacy plans?
We will just stay on track to keep them all up to date, but no, not really.
Those are pretty much the big technical questions. And so if we can take just a moment, I realize we're already a little past the scheduled time. Thank you for your time. This means a lot. Some opinions on privacy from Saber. So this is the personal interview at this point.
Let's say privacy for me is very important, and I have no ideas, no plans to change that at any time. Not yet, and not tomorrow, and also not in the next years. Okay. And even when governments would pressure on it, I don't care. I think that's good. I mean, even all the exchanges in the world could delist us because of the privacy functionality, and I still don't care because I think that's the key for success. And I think we will see many coins even change their privacy, maybe in the future to have more privacy. And I think all this tracking on Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, it's not good. It's not healthy.
Okay.
And we are definitely privacy supporters on all corners.
It's in the BitTube DNA then, privacy. Let me ask you some very targeted questions then regarding privacy. If you had to put it into a list of just 3 of your top favorite currencies that have privacy as a feature, and this can be a real world currency or an AFK currency. It can be a contractual obligation between 2 people. So the notion of privacy that only 2 people understand a secret that they then exchange, or it can be some real world store of value, but is also used as a means of exchange. What would make your top 3 list in terms of private currencies?
Definitely Monero. Zcash is also on my list, and they are my favorites. Okay. And my last one, it's privacy when 2 people are in a room and nobody's there.
Got it.
Direct exchange.
Okay, so just exchanging anything of value with nobody else observing.
Exactly.
Okay, awesome. And I'm curious about your personal opinion on favorite privacy wallets. It could be desktop, it could be mobile, and I'll be more clear that I mean either a multi-wallet or a wallet experience from some other coin that you just really admire.
To be honest, I have no idea. I mean, I tell you honestly, I'm not a big fan of multi-wallets, even when they're comfortable. I still, on any project which I find interesting, I'm taking directly their direct wallet, and I'm not using multi-wallets.
Is there a wallet then that where the user experience you found that you just really like it?
I like that one from BitTube.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got to say the desktop wallet experience for me has been. It's been a pleasure to jump back into. There are some CryptoNote wallets. There have been some growing pains within CryptoNote wallets. So definitely getting better. Let me ask as far as your favorite privacy tech that is not necessarily blockchain related. So it can be VPN, Tor, or maybe it could be some kind of like wearing a high power infrared LED on the front of your cap so that cameras can't scan your face, right? Yes. And aiming the beam at at the CMOS sensor of a security camera. What do you think is a privacy technology that more people should be aware of and that everybody should at least try?
A custom setup DNS. That's something very interesting for me. And I'm not trusting, DNS servers are dangerous. They get used all over the place. And this is the best, for me at least, it's one of the best ways to masquerade my traffic to use a DNS server, my custom one, set up by myself.
So don't trust, don't verify, set it up yourself on DNS.
Yes, exactly.
Great. This is awesome. I love having these conversations because every single interview, I hear something different, and it's gold. People who are watching this series are getting a world-class education in OpSec, actually.
Yes.
So thank you.
Thank you.
And then I'll ask just point blank. I know you've made the answer clear, but I'll ask point blank a yes or no question. Does privacy matter?
Oh, definitely.
Illustrating as best you can, what would a complete lack of privacy look like?
I think it would be a horrible world. If you have just transparency all over the place, I think you cannot be human anymore. What you're thinking and what you're doing, it's not yours anymore. So that's a big lack, and that's a big issue for myself. I tell you honestly, when I'm something new is hitting my mind, I'm researching things with a total fresh new system just to be sure that nobody is getting some hints on this idea. So that paranoid I am to do so, because I've seen the crazy things going on. Even when something new is hitting your mind, just because you search on the search engine for some specific words and parameters to find more information, even that, because the search queries for that kind of combination is so low that I have sometimes the feeling that this triggers, for example, on Google's site, that, hey, what's that? What they're doing there? Is there a new idea or whatever? So yeah, I have no idea, but that's the point why we need privacy.
You go to the registrar to maybe get a new domain name, and all of a sudden the price has jumped up by 300% since you had that thought. Somehow, magically.
As an example. Yeah, magically.
Okay, so that's a total lack of privacy in the world. And on the flip side, in your mind, if we achieve the ideal, if we manage to get there as a society and we do it right, what does total privacy look like?
Total privacy looks like that you will have, I think, the point where many users, people, they will feel more comfortable for themselves, because then finally they can also express themselves without to be worried that they get attacked or shooted or whatever, so they can express themselves, I think, much more better. That's one way. Sure, I'm totally aware that full privacy, you have always bad actors, but I'm pretty sure that we humans are able to handle that, and that the bad actors are actually less than the good ones. Awesome.
Well, I appreciate that your take on what full privacy would look like, that it includes that faith in humanity.
Yes.
That seems crucial. Whether we have full privacy or not, hope needs to survive.
That's the point.
So cool. Awesome. We already answered the question, which I typically say till the end, answered the question about whether or not this was a paid interview, and if there was any kind of bounty offered or requested on my part.
Nothing.
Which leads me to my last question, which is very, very serious. Can I borrow 50,000 ETH in exchange for my new token, KEX? No? Okay.
I'm sorry.
I figured I'd try. I worked for Richard Hart. I figured I'd ask.
Yes. What a story.
Awesome. And that's not me hating. Seriously, y'all. Congrats to the guy. He made it work. My hat does go off to him.
Incredible.
Yeah. Awesome. Saber, I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate your willingness to talk openly about these matters, and this series, I'm hoping, really means something to not only followers of the BitTube project, but anybody who's looking at cryptocurrency and wondering, what are these guys continuing this for? What drives them?
Our vision.
Yeah, definitely appreciate that. Best place for people to communicate with the BitTube team. Where should they meet up with you? And realistically, what is the best way to approach the team? Because sometimes, trying to DM you on Twitter doesn't work.
We have our team members. I mean, they're there for the public, for the community. But to be honest, to get in touch with the deep team, to get in touch is definitely Discord. There where we are. Telegram, Twitter, and stuff like that, it's not our place. So we have community managers which are taking care about regular things. But when you want to get, for example, in touch with me, Discord is definitely the way to go.
Okay, awesome. I'll have a link to that then down in the description. And again, I thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for doing that.